Welcome. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of a prophet named Habakkuk. It's this powerful journey that takes him from the very depths of doubt to a really profound and unshakable faith. And it all kicks off with a question that feels so modern, you know? It's a question I'm sure many of us have asked at some point. When the world just seems to be falling apart around you, what do you do when God is silent? This was Habakkuk's reality, and his struggle is exactly where our story begins. So the first part of this journey is basically the prophet's complaint. And you have to understand, Habakkuk isn't just standing in some peaceful meadow. No, he's right in the thick of it, in a nation that's just being consumed by chaos and corruption. I mean, just look at this. It paints a pretty devastating picture, right? These aren't just a few minor problems. We're talking about a complete societal breakdown. Violence is everywhere. The courts are a joke. The law is completely ignored. And it really feels like evil is winning on every single front. This is the world Habakkuk has to look at every single day. And so he just cries out. You can really feel the raw anguish in his words. This isn't some polite, tidy little prayer. It's a desperate plea from someone who feels completely and totally alone, completely unheard. He's basically shouting into the void, asking, how long? How long do I have to watch this before you finally do something? And right here, he gets to the very heart of his confusion. I mean, this is one of the boldest questions in all of Scripture. He's wrestling with this massive idea of trying to square the goodness of God with all the evil he sees in the world. He's asking, why are you just watching this happen? Why are you silent while the wicked just devour the righteous? Well, God does answer. But let me tell you, the response is not what Habakkuk, or honestly, what anyone was expecting. In a word, it was terrible. And this is such a key moment. God doesn't offer some comforting pat on the back. He doesn't say, don't worry, it'll all be okay. Nope. Instead, he delivers a cold, hard, and pretty shocking truth. God's response is just breathtaking. He says, look around, pay attention, because I am about to do something so astonishing, so far beyond what you could imagine, that you wouldn't even believe me if I told you what it was. So, who would be the instrument of this unbelievable work? The Chaldeans. You might know them as the Babylonians. And this was the horror of God's plan. He was going to use a nation that was even more wicked, even more brutal, a nation described as bitter, terrible, and fierce as wolves, to judge his own people. A nation whose only God was its own power. And just like that, Habakkuk is completely floored. The solution seems so much worse than the problem. He asked God why he was silent about injustice, and God's answer was that he would use an even greater injustice to fix it. The answer was absolutely heavier than the question. Okay, so this leads us to the critical turning point in the whole story. Instead of arguing more or just falling into despair, Habakkuk does something really profound. He decides to become a watchman. The imagery here is so powerful, isn't it? He literally climbs a watchtower. He's intentionally looking for a higher perspective, trying to get above all the chaos on the ground so he can just wait and listen for what God is going to say next. It's this active choice to wait in faith, not in frustration. And that patience, it pays off. God speaks a second time. But this message isn't just some quick reply. It's a vision so important that God tells him to write it down plainly so that generations to come can read it and understand it. So, what is this timeless vision? Well, it's the very heart of this entire book. It's the big idea that resolves Habakkuk's crisis and has been echoing through history ever since. This is the line, right here. God lays out this stark contrast. The proud person, the arrogant one who is lifted up, their soul is not right. They're going to fall. But the righteous person, the just one, they will find life not in their own understanding, not in their circumstances, but by their faith, by their absolute trust in God. And the vision makes it super clear, nobody gets away with evil, not even the Chaldeans, God's own instrument of judgment. God pronounces a whole series of woes against them for their greed, their violence, their pride. It's a reminder that God is sovereign over all nations, and his justice, it will win in the end. And then you get this verse, and it's like a mic drop. It just brings the entire argument to a stunning halt. After all the noise, all the violence, all the questions, the vision ends with this: God is on his throne, he is in control. And the right response for us isn't more arguing. but just silent, reverent awe. You can see how this vision completely transforms Habakkuk. In this final section, we see a man who has gone from being terrified of his circumstances to being totally in awe of his God. He looks ahead to the invasion that's coming, and he imagines the absolute worst-case scenario. And we're not just talking about a bad day. This is total desolation. The fig trees are bare, there's no fruit on the vines, the olive harvest fails, the fields are empty. It's complete and total ruin. And here it is, the pivot. Right in the face of all that ruin, he makes a choice. Yet. That one little word changes everything. His joy isn't tied to the harvest anymore. His joy is found in a person, the God of his salvation. It is one of the most powerful declarations of faith you'll ever read. And he wraps it all up with this triumphant statement. His strength isn't coming from his circumstances, it's coming from God himself. He says God will give him the sure-footedness of a deer on a dangerous cliff, letting him walk securely even when the whole world is shaking beneath him. So, what's the ultimate takeaway here? Habakkuk doesn't get a neat little answer to every single why. The problem of evil isn't just explained away, but he gets something so much better. He gets a faith that doesn't depend on answers, a trust in God's character that can stand up to any storm. And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Habakkuk's journey shows us that real faith isn't about having no questions. It's about what you choose to do with them. It's the choice to climb that watchtower, to wait, and to put your trust not in what you can see, but in who you know God to be.